是。此番要对付的可是货真。
How do you capture an enemy stronger than you? You don't chase her. You make her walk straight into your trap, and turn her own ambush into a cage. That's the heart of today's A Record of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality, episode 180. Also, quick note before we begin. This follows the novel, so a few details differ from the donghua. Let's get to it. Quick catch-up, since this picks up right where we left off. Han Li has reunited with Nangong inside the Masked Moon sect and learned the ugly truth behind her wedding. She never agreed to marry Elder Wei Li Chen of the Flowing Mind sect. She was forced into it by her own senior martial sister, the sect's new Grand Elder, who was pressured by Wei Li Chen's terrifyingly powerful great-uncle, Wei Wuya, one of the three great cultivators of the region. The deal was too sweet to refuse. Agree to the marriage, and the Masked Moon sect gets to expand beyond its cramped territory, while Wei Li Chen joins their ranks. To lock Nangong down, the Grand Elder used a binding called the Heart Restraint Technique, anchored to a Blood Essence command medallion that lets her control Nangong body within a 50-kilometer range. That single medallion is the one chain Nangong can't break on her own, and that's the problem these two now have to solve. Now here's where the new plan kicks off. Nangong safe option was simple. Quietly dissolve the lighter restrictions on her body, restore her power in the final days before the wedding when security is lax, and slip away beyond the medallion's range. But Han Li isn't interested in just running. He tells her flatly that with him here, he can bring her out no matter what bindings are on her body. He'd even rather deal with the Grand Elder directly. Nangong studies him for a long moment, realizes there's no talking him out of it, and bites her lip before agreeing, with a smarter version of his idea. And this is the core of the heist, so pay attention. Han Li's first instinct is to go hunt the Grand Elder down at her own residence. Nangong shoots that down immediately. The Grand Elder's home, Setting Sun Hall, is layered with so many restrictions that attacking her there is suicide. Instead, she'll do the opposite, lure the Grand Elder here, to Nangong's own cave, where they can use the cave's restrictions to ambush her with her guard down. Han Li points out the obvious snag. When he arrived, the cave's surface restrictions looked shattered, but Nangong reassures him. Yes, the Grand Elder broke the outer restrictions, but there's still one powerful hidden restriction she never discovered, and it's fully functional. That hidden array is the trap's foundation. Han Li likes it and starts stacking the deck. He mentions he has several sets of spell formation tools, formation flags and plates, that aren't strong but can add a layer of obstruction once placed. Nangong's confidence climbs. They can't delay. She'll need half a day to peel off her body restrictions and restore her full magic power, and Han Li should spend that time laying his formations. Han Li even floats a tempting question. If they capture the Grand Elder, why not just have Nangong seize control of the Masked Moon sect and skip fleeing entirely? But Nangong shakes her head. There's a second nascent soul elder in the sect, one she's actually on good terms with, who'd never let her claim the Grand Elder title illegitimately, and she has no appetite for a power struggle anyway. All she wants is a quiet place to cultivate. So Han Li lands on the cleaner plan. If this works, she leaves with him for the Drifting Cloud sect. And even with the Nine Nations Union being stronger and Wei Wuya doting on his great-nephew, the man wouldn't dare rashly offend the Heavenly Tao Alliance, plus 2 nascent soul cultivators, in the middle of a spell warrior invasion. With the plan set, watch Han Li work, because this is where his trademark style comes out. He summons a pile of formation flags and plates from his storage pouch and blurs around the hall, planting them everywhere, each one flashing briefly before sinking out of sight. He deliberately keeps the formations confined to the hall itself, to concentrate their power, and conceals them so they're invisible unless someone searches meticulously. He's honest with himself about their limits. These are tools he refined back in his core formation days, too weak to threaten a core formation cultivator, let alone a nascent soul one. He's not counting on them to win. They're just friction. Then he calls in his real assets. He sweeps his sleeve, and a streak of white light circles him before dropping down into a small white fox. Silvermoon, his artifact spirit, who teases him about making Mistress Nangong jealous. Han Li snaps that no one gets jealous over an artifact spirit, then turns serious. He's about to face a mid-nascent soul cultivator, a real cut above an early nascent soul cultivator like himself, and he cannot let her escape. He hands Silvermoon a treasure from his pouch and tells her to wield it at the right moment, explaining that she can draw more power out of it than he can, and that using it himself would drain his magic power, though she'll only be able to control it briefly, since artifact spirits can't sustain another treasure for long. Silvermoon's reaction is a small, lovely beat. She clutches the item, rubs it almost fondly, looks dejected, and murmurs that she understands. before flickering with silver light and vanishing into the ground. He's not done layering the ambush. Struck by sudden inspiration, Han Li looks up at the ceiling, tosses out his spirit beast pouch, and releases a swarm of black-tinged gold-devouring beetles, his signature flesh and treasure-devouring insects, that whirl above him in a 3-meter cloud. He breathes an azure mist over them, weaves an incantation, and the swarm scatters into specks of starlight that drift up and embed themselves in the ceiling, their aura completely masked. He stares hard at the ceiling, senses nothing, and nods, satisfied. A hidden swarm of devouring insects, waiting directly above where the Grand Elder will stand. There's one more housekeeping move that shows how careful he is. Across the hall, Nangong has been restoring her power, her snow-white robes blazing with a meter-tall scarlet flame from her female essence incarnation technique, the fire gradually shaping into a strange pulsing red disk. The surging power makes the hall's spiritual chi turn restless, which could give the trap away. So Han Li strikes a stone pillar with a spell seal and raises an azure barrier around Nangong, sealing the disturbance until the hall's energy settles back to normal. Then, with everything in place, he conjures a straw chair, sits across from her, and simply stares at the face he's yearned for over so many years. But here's the thing. Han Li being entranced is itself part of the play. He lets his expression go slack, looking lost in her face. And then, without warning, his figure vanishes. Outside the hall, a woman who'd been spying is caught completely off guard, cursing as she tries to flee. Too late, because Han Li's calm voice lands behind her, asking why she's spying, and whether she isn't afraid her martial ancestor will scold her. It's the yellow-robed disciple who first led Han Li into the hall, Yu'er. And this is where the Grand Elder's own scheme starts to backfire. Yu'er stammers that she wasn't spying, she just got worried when her martial ancestor didn't emerge. But Han Li, hands behind his back, coldly picks her story apart. If she only wanted a look, why hide so thoroughly? And why use something as rare and high-grade as a concealing spirit talisman? A top-tier concealment treasure no mere Foundation establishment cultivator should be able to get her hands on? That talisman is the tell. The Grand Elder gave it to Yu'er specifically to spy on Nangong undetected. Yu'er panics, crushes a talisman, and bolts down the corridor in a flash of yellow light. But Han Li doesn't even bother chasing. 30 meters along, a wall spits out a cloud of pink mist that swallows her, and she sways and drops. Silvermoon slides out of the wall in a flicker of yellow light, gives her tail a graceful shake, and strolls over to the fallen disciple with a smile. The bait is now fully in Han Li's hands, including Yu'er's face for Silvermoon to wear. Now the episode cuts to the other side of the board. Setting Sun Hall, the Grand Elder's residence. This place has served generations of masked moon sect Grand Elders, complete with a spirit well and so many layered restrictions that almost no one can approach without permission. A streak of red light, Nangong summons, sails in, passing through every restriction as if they weren't there, and reaches a side room where a woman sits meditating on a prayer mat. She looks barely into her early 20s, her skin icily pale, faint cold chi radiating off her. She opens her eyes, frowns, and draws the red light into her palm as a fist-sized ball before snuffing it out. What is that girl planning? Taking the initiative to see me? She muses. But the gentle tone of the message intrigues her enough that she decides to take a look, and shoots out of Setting Sun Hall in a streak of white light. This is the moment the trap's logic pays off. The Grand Elder arrives at Nangong cave, scans the surroundings, sees the outer restrictions still broken and useless, notices nothing strange, and walks in with total confidence, striking the stone door open with a spell seal. Inside, Yu'er, actually Silvermoon wearing her face, bows respectfully. The Grand Elder, completely fooled, even remarks that the girl's cultivation has clearly improved from the medicine pills she'd given her, and Yu'er thanks her for it. Then comes the intelligence exchange that the disguise lets Han Li's side control. The Grand Elder asks whether Nangong has done anything unusual. Silvermoon, as Yu'er, reports that she only received a low-grade steward earlier, who left hours ago. The Grand Elder already knew about this from Martial Uncle Lan's sound transmission, and presses about the gift. Silvermoon plays it perfectly. It was just a silver sword magic tool, and Martial Ancestor Nangong seemed oddly unhappy and pensive after receiving it. Pensive enough to then send the Grand Elder that message. The Grand Elder reasons it away as a keepsake from some vagrant cultivator Nangong befriended while traveling. Nothing alarming, she tells Yu'er to keep spying with that high-grade talisman, promising rich rewards, never suspecting she's briefing the very enemy she walked in to investigate. And then the jaws close. They reach the main hall, and from inside, Nangong voice calls out, calm and inviting, that she's thought it over and can reluctantly agree to the marriage, on one condition. The Grand Elder, delighted that her scheme finally worked, strides in pleased as can be, promising to grant any condition so long as Nangong Wan marries Elder Wei. But the instant the full hall comes into view, something's wrong. The real Nangong Wan is just sitting in a straw chair, examining a crudely refined silver sword across her body, as if she never spoke at all. The voice was a fake. The Grand Elder's expression snaps, and her arm whips backward at lightning speed, firing 5-inch-long sword lights at where Yuer stood, and Yuer simply melts into the stone floor in a flash of yellow light, leaving nothing but tattered yellow clothes behind. That earth escape was Silvermoon's, of course. The Grand Elder bolts for the exit and runs straight into the rest of the ambush. A 10-meter-long azure sword comes whistling at her, trying to cleave her in two. She flicks her fingers and fires 10-foot-long streaks of icy light to meet it. The swords and light collide in a chain of booming impacts that hurl both her and the giant sword apart. She retreats about 10 meters and stops. The azure sword dims and splits into dozens of flying swords that circle in place, and from within them a silhouette resolves. A plain-faced youth, smiling faintly, Han Li, finally revealed. The moment she gets a clear read on Han Li's true cultivation, her pupils shrink. And here the detail engine matters. This is a mid-nascent soul cultivator, a genuine tier above the early nascent soul Han Li and Nangong Wan, which is exactly why the whole elaborate trap exists instead of a straight fight. She demands to know who he is and what that doppelganger of Yuer was, then reaches for her waist and pulls out a red command medallion. Han Li's gaze locks onto it, and he murmurs grimly, "The restriction medallion." Because that medallion is the trigger for the heart restraint technique, the one thing that can still puppet Nangong Wan's body. The whole fight now hinges on whether the Grand Elder gets to use it. She tries to seize control with threats first, snorting that Nangong Wan has clearly told this stranger everything, warning that this is masked moon sect business, and that if he doesn't stand down, the 6 sects will hunt him to the ends of the earth. But Nangong Wan, power now restored, rises gracefully and turns the threat back on her. She points out coldly that she's not without friends in the 6 sects, and if they learned what the Grand Elder did to a fellow sect member, would the Grand Elder herself survive the blade? And as for that command medallion, does the Grand Elder really believe she'll be given the chance to use it? Then Nangong Wan spits out a ring of flame, summoning her magic treasure, the vermilion bird ring. The Grand Elder has no intention of backing down. Face twisted with resentment, she shakes her sleeves and tosses out 2 flying swords, one white, one black, that circle once and swell to 3 meters each. And these are worth naming because they're her signature. A rare pair of yin-yang swords. The white blade is pure as snow, radiating bone-deep icy chi. The black blade carries a strange heat and flickers with black flame, ice and fire, paired. Then, coldly, she does the most dangerous thing she can do. She lightly shakes the red command medallion, mutters a few words into it, and red light begins crawling across its surface as she starts to activate the heart restraint technique. Han Li reacts instantly, because if she finishes, Nangong Wan's own body could turn against them. A small silver bell is already spinning above his head. At his incantation, it rings out, lashing the Grand Elder with silver sound waves to shatter her focus. At nearly the same moment, he rolls his hands and sends a streak of red and a streak of azure light slamming into 2 pillars of the hall, and the hidden restriction Nangong Wan kept in reserve roars to life, the ground trembling as the whole trap finally activates around their enemy. So the long con has reached its blade's edge. Han Li and Nangong Wan lured a stronger opponent into a hall rigged with concealed formations. A hidden swarm of gold-devouring beetles overhead, silver moon waiting in the walls, and the cave's secret restriction primed, and now it all triggers at once. But the Grand Elder is a mid-nascent soul cultivator with her yin-yang swords drawn and the command medallion already glowing in her hand, seconds from seizing control of Nangong Wan's body. Can Han Li's bell and the awakening formations cut her off in time? Or is Nangong Wan about to be turned against the very man who came to save her? That's where we pick up next time. If you're enjoying this arc, smash the like button, drop a comment on whether you think this trap holds, and subscribe so you don't miss how the ambush plays out.